Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's amazing to see you today on June's product update webinar here at Waybook.com. I can't believe it's June already, and I know I've spoken to some of the team here at Waybook who are thinking the same. Apart from the eagle-eyed ones who will know that I'm back in London. And I'm getting a tan from the window here, so it is the sign that it is June here in London. So welcome back if this is not your first webinar, and welcome if this is your first. I'm Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook, and I'm incredibly excited to share with you what we've been up to and what is already in your Waybook accounts or is creeping into your accounts very, very soon over the last month or so. So I'm seeing some familiar names, so it's great to see so many familiar names and faces coming in, so thank you for joining us, and for the new names, it's amazing to see you too. So I'm just going to throw a bit of a poll here just to kind of get a bit of a sense of who's in the room, what we're doing, how much you know Waybook or not, what you're using Waybook for. So that poll is on your screen now. And as we do that, I will start to share with you what we're going to cover in today's product updates webinar. So what we're going to cover are the fundamental things that have come into your accounts. Many of you who are really in Waybook all of the time will know that there's been quite a lot of speed optimization. There's been quite a lot of changes and tweaks around the accounts. But the core things that we're going to cover today are firstly document owners. This is a brand new feature. We've been really excited about it. We've spoken to quite a lot of Waybook users to understand exactly what it is. And we're really excited for actually the amount of value it's bringing, even though it's seemingly quite a simple feature. Next up, we are going to share document verification. Now, some of you may already be using document verification because a very early version of this was launched a few months ago. If you have been using document verification, you should know you're one of a very few, because we really only pass this out to a small portion of Waybook users, and we now have a much more comprehensive version of that. Third, we're going to be looking at Document Manager. Now, I've spoken to some people who come to these webinars regularly, and I know you mainly come here because firstly, I show you things I shouldn't do. And secondly, it's because you see things in Waybook before they're even launched. And Document Manager is a view which we're working on and working with quite a lot of Waybook users. So if you are in the room, thank you. So I'm really keen to share that with you today. Get your thoughts, get your feedback, and get it into your hands as well. Also, we're going to look at document versions, and the final thing is the export reports as CSV. So that's what we've got. More people are coming in, so thank you for those of you who have answered the poll. I can see that the vast majority of us are other departments, which means that I need to be a little bit more creative with the departments that I put on. But the main department here is actually operations today. So welcome to you all, operations folk. And the most popular reason why we're doing this is to create and house your SOPs, to build your single source of truth, and to train your new team members. And most of us here are between the 1 and 100 mark as well. So welcome. Now, before I jump into exactly what we're going to be looking at today, I wanted to just share with you some of the core parts about what success looks like. Now, genuinely, I love what we do here at Waybook, and my job is pretty cushy because I just get to speak to people like you about how you scale and grow your businesses, the challenges you're finding, and how we can actually solve that better. And a good new friend of mine, Josh Turner from Stand for Socks, is a guy that I had a conversation with relatively recently. And what Josh does is basically run a sock company. It's amazing, it's huge, they do loads of really interesting socks, and it has a very socially focused as well. Now, he held a lot of that business knowledge in his head, and he onboarded teams in a remote way and had lots of different people all over the world. He's based in New York now. So he decided to centralize all of his knowledge within Waybook. He then started to onboard people through Waybook rather than in person. And what he noticed was he reduced his onboarding time to 20%. So not reduced it by 20%, but reduced it to 20%. And he actually entirely removed himself from the day-to-day operations. and the day-to-day conversations, which actually meant that everybody else became more efficient. And finally, he said he was able to improve and maintain his customer success, sorry, his Trustpilot customer satisfaction score to 4.8, which he says was a big part of the consistency that he was creating by having this single source of truth. So that is essentially what we're here for. That's why we exist. So let's see how some of the things that we have pushed out into your Waybook accounts this month can help you achieve some of those same exciting things. So let's start with document owners. Now, the reason why we started to look at document owners as a feature is because we noticed by speaking with some people who use Waybook, they had the requirement to assign the responsibility of that knowledge to individual units. We also have spoken to a few people, and actually I can see some names that was the original seed of this. So Carrie, I'm giving you a shout out now. I know that you were in one of those early conversations where you were saying that you like to actually sometimes change your responsibility of who takes that document and who is responsible for that content moving forward. But of course, without that assigned to the document, that can become quite messy. We also noticed that actually as your teams were onboarding and you are absorbing that information, sometimes they have some more information. Sometimes it's nice to put a face behind who is responsible for that core piece of knowledge or information. But when you have a document, a PowerPoint, a PDF, you don't always know who is the person you're speaking to, with, or about. So what we've been able to do is basically create this concept within Waybook of a document owner. Now, as an admin or a manager within your Waybook account, you can create either one or multiple document owners. And what that does is, firstly, it gives them the ability to know that they're the owner, but also it means that everybody else, when they're absorbing that information, can see on the information panel here on each document who is responsible and who is a document owner. The other cool thing within that is that you're also able to then share, move, and transfer the ownership of those documents. And I am going to share with you a little bit that we've been doing in the document management view, where the document owners become even more powerful. So how do you access this? I hear you cry. I don't really, obviously, one-way webinar, but the way you access this is already in your account. So you go into any of your settings on any of your documents and you can turn on document owners, assign that document, and start to get some peace of mind that the responsibility is shared. So now I'm going to be jumping over into a Waybook to show you exactly how to do that. But whilst I'm switching screens, I just wanted to make sure that you all know that this shouldn't be a one-way monologue like it often is in most webinars. So please do use the chat to say hello, share who you are, where you are. We'd love to hear from you. And also, if you've got any other thoughts or questions as we go through, chuck it in the chat, or of course, message in the Q&A. We have the fantastic Elle and also Sophia in our customer success team who are there to answer the questions, or of course, I'll pick it up live on the session as well. So jumping into the Waybook, let's have a quick look at what those document owners actually look like. You'll be familiar with this setup where we can look in, and I will go into edit mode here. And on edit mode, we go into settings. And the settings is where you'll find your document owners. Now, by default, all of your document owners will be off. So we can just turn on our document owners and you'll be able to see that whoever turns it on is the default owner. But then we can essentially add, edit, and remove our document owners. So because she's on the call, let's add Elle, not Way, Elle from Waybook into that. And then let's also add, somebody else. Who else should be owning this? Let's add Luke into that as well. So me, Luke, and Elle are the document owners. Of course, you can take other owners off. And that is it. That is how you assign a document owner. Now, if we go back into the reader mode, you'll notice here that up here, anybody will be able to hover over, see who those document owners are. But if we now click into that, you'll see that there's a new side information panel which comes out, which shows you a bit of information about that document. And of course, tells you who those all important document owners are. So that is your brief introduction to document owners, as I hope you've come to expect from Waybook. It's easy to use and hopefully really powerful. So now let's move on to the next feature we're launching today. And as we do that, I've got my eyes on the chat because Carrie, I called you out and you were the first one into the chat. Hello from Minnesota. We also have Menali from Minnesota. We've got Lee from Cumbria. We've got Tanya from Edinburgh as well. So thank you so much for joining us as well. So now we go back into our second feature, which we're launching today. That feature is, of course, document verification. Now, document verification is a really great way for us taking this concept of document owners and taking it one step further. Where this started from was because speaking to lots of people, we realized that, yes, you can assign the responsibility for the document, but then also some people have a different layer of accountability for that content or that knowledge. So document verification enables you to assign the accountability of that content, and also, and very crucially, ensures that you have a mechanism to ensure that the knowledge within your Waybook is fresh, accurate, up-to-date, and compliant. Now, this is really valuable for those of you who are using Waybook for the essential information that is needed for you to stay compliant in your industry, whatever that may be. Or, of course, if you have information that's so essential that it's up to date regularly, you can then share that accountability to somebody else. Now, what this actually is it looks relatively similar from a structure to the document owners, but it is different. You only ever have one person who is responsible for the verification of that document. So essentially, you can assign that one member to be the person responsible for verifying, and you can also then set a deadline if that person needs to verify that document by a certain date. Now, what this does is it will actually display the verification status on the document. And also, when I get into the document management view, you'll be able to see how that's present within there as well. Okay, we've got Alana from California joining us as well in the chat. Thank you, Alana. I basically just want to shout out as many different cities, towns, and countries as I can. So forgive me interrupting myself with the excitement of where you all are. Okay, so how do you do that? It's in your document settings once again. Now you'll notice this is a pro feature, so if you're on the pro plan, you can jump into that. If not, you can trial all of our pro features for free to see whether or not that increased level of access control and permissions you're able to then kind of see whether it's valuable for you or not. So let me just jump back into the Waybook account, and on this document, which I've created the document owners, I can now head back into that document settings, again into edit mode, hit into the settings, and you'll see under document owners, we can turn on document verification for that content. Now, once again, it will create the person who's turning it on by default as the person who's responsible for verifying, but let's say the almighty L is the person that's responsible for that. And it's as simple as that. L is now responsible for verifying that document. Now, you've got two choices when you enable someone to be the person responsible for verification. You can either just leave it and that will ping up on their account. They'll see that they have to have that responsibility and they can verify that. But say, for example, you need a policy that needs to be confirmed by that content policy procedure owner every year, you can essentially then set a reset date. So let's say we want this to be done on July 2015. Sorry, 2025. Let's actually make that a little bit more. Okay, let's do that by tomorrow. Let's live in the present, live in the present. So we've turned that. I'm actually just going to take that ownership back just so I can show you on this account. And instantly, that's how you'll change someone who's responsible for verifying. Again, obviously, you would have to have edit access or publish access in order to be able to jump into these settings anyway. So not everyone can make those changes. And you'll see now that we have this new button appear here. We can see that this document is unverified, because it has just had verification turn on and I, as the verifier, haven't yet confirmed it. Now, what I'm able to do, and this is on both edit and unedit mode or reader mode, I'm able to read this, make sure we're happy with this, and I'll say, yeah, I'm going to verify that content, and that verified content will then just have that nice green tick on it, both in terms of edit mode and reader mode. So your readers are able to see, here's who owns it. It's definitely verified as being up to date. Now, what's great about this is as this content continues to be edited and developed and changed by either you or other people who have access, if we publish those changes, you'll notice that the document will now become unverified. So any change that's been published to people, instead of still having that green tick, it will then be an unverified document. So the person responsible for that will then be able to click verified and get everybody up to speed. What we found by speaking with lots of people is the documents you want to have verification on tend to be the documents that don't change very regularly, but they change on that periodic point of that quarterly, 6-month or annual review as you're changing those processes and procedures. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your document verification pairing with your document owners. What's next? I've kind of teased it. I've suggested it in the other ones. It is the document management view. Now, heads up, this is not yet released. So it's really out in the traps. You probably haven't seen it yet. So I'm excited to share with it today. So the reason why this came about is because Waybook is the ultimate platform for you to centralize all your knowledge, your systems, your processes, and that can range from procedures to processes to policies to whatever that may be. And Waybook is structured around being able for you to edit, manage, and control this content and the permissions. However, as we've continued to work with businesses that are using this really in the heart of their knowledge management, we've identified a bit of a need for a more holistic document management. Now, I'm making the distinction here between content management and document management. Now, while you can manage all of your content and all of your documents really efficiently within Waybook, you can drag and drop in the sidebar, you can manage review and whatever else. As we're adding more features like the document owner, the verification, the last update, the version, things like that, sometimes you just need that 6-foot view of knowing exactly where the documents are, what status they're in, who owns them, who verifies them. So this holistic view is becoming more and more valuable for many Waybook users. So what we're able to do is to show you that status of progress of all of the different documents, and that is in a holistic document management view. Now, this enables you to filter and sort all of these different documents. So no matter what you're looking to achieve, if you're looking to manage the documents as elements rather than the content of your documents, this is the view for you. So how do you do it? It's available by beta request. It will be rolling out to people very soon. The reason why it's on beta at the moment is not because it doesn't work. It works, it's amazing. It's more just because we really want to speak to people about the value that you both get out of document management, but also what you need. As many of you will know, as we develop features within Waybook, we have a very strong understanding from speaking with you, from the data, what kind of products and services to kind of build within Waybook. But really, there's nothing like actually speaking to people using it. So if you toggle this on by beta request, you can message Elle or Sophia or anyone in customer success. They'll get that on your account, but we do love to speak to you. So let me jump into document management view and show you exactly what that is. Let me just pull this up here and switch over. So the document management view is essentially a table view of all of your documents. So you'll see here that these documents are decanted out of all of your subjects. Now, of course, you can expand them all out. And as I mentioned, you can drag and drop and still manage all of your documents like you usually do. But if you want that holistic view of all of the content, you jump into here and we can see the documents, what subjects they're in, what version they're on, which I'll come to very soon, who owns them, whether it's verified or not, who verifies them. Now, all of the relevant information about your documents are essentially in these fields here. So it's toggled off by default, but actually you can say, okay, how many steps are there? When was it last published? What version is it? What subject is it in? Whatever that may be. Does it have unpublished changes? How many reference documents are there? And you'll see that this table can just keep on expanding with all of that relevant information. And what you're able to do is then just start to actually build up an understanding. Let's say we want to look at all of our reference-only documents. And I don't think there's going to be many in there. So the reference-only is, let's say yes. And then basically that will be able to show you all of the documents that aren't referenced. And you'll see here that this filter will now appear up here. We're also then able to say what documents have unpublished changes, for example, So no unpublished changes. And then we'll start to build up a core understanding. Now, one way that this is really useful is you can actually say, I want to see all of the documents that where Mike is one of those owners, and we're able to then essentially decide all of these owners. Is there an owner? Who's the owner? And start to filter and verify that. So as I mentioned, this is a very new feature. It's not out in any of the accounts yet. If you do want an early look on it and you think it could be useful, please let us know and we'll get it onto your account. You can also then just start to filter and understand how you use your documents in a really interesting way by tapping into the filter and kind of breaking down your documents even more. So that is the document management view. Hopefully it will really continue to grow and adapt into the holistic tool that you need in order to actually manage your documents at that interesting way. Right, let me just jump back into there. So for example, if you're trying to find a document on kind of office security, you can filter back down to that. So if you've got any thoughts on that, any questions on that, please do let me know. We'd love to be able to kind of develop this and get this into your Waybook as soon as possible. So let's move on to something that is already out and you'll be able to see within your account. Now, this is the concept of document versions. Now, many of you will know that in your Waybook account, you always have a history of all of the changes and all of the content that you've had within your Waybook. Now, this is essential for you to be able to look at how that knowledge and that content changes, grows, and adapts over time. But once again, for those users who are using this for compliance, those users who are using this for kind of ensuring exactly what experience different people have had at different times, you're able to actually manage these documents and want it for compliance, sorry, or understand those previous iterations of the documents rather than just the edits made to those documents. The versions of your Waybook documents are now available for you to be able to see not just the individual changes on individual steps, but actually a compliant and tracked version history across all of your documentation. Now, this is actually available on all of our Pro accounts now. Once again, if you wanted to check it out and you're not on Pro, feel free to jump into a free Pro trial to get a feel for that. But let me show you exactly how that looks and feels within your account. So this is all automatically natively built into your Waybook. And if I go back onto this information pane where we were looking at that, who the owners are, you'll also see that this is the V8, so the version 8 of this purpose and background document. Now, it's worth noting that in this Waybook, which is my primary demo Waybook, I'm always like kind of clicking around and doing various different bits. So you're also able to kind of have smaller numbers if you're making less changes as you move forward. But actually, if I now go into what is already there that you may already be familiar with, you can look at this version history. Now, sorry, on the step revisions. If you look at step revisions, this is what you'll be already familiar with in terms of being able to compare previous and current versions of any individual document in order for you to then revert back, make an edit, see how the documents have changed. But those of you familiar with this will know that these changes are on an individual step basis. So you can see who's made those changes, what they've changed, and revert back. Now, because we're talking about document versions rather than step revisions, you're able to now look into this revision step here under this same menu, and you can look at all of both the minor and the major changes that have happened to your document. So if we look here, I'm the only one that's been published in this document. You'll be able to see what V7, V7.1, V7.2. But if we go all the way back to the major change that L published, this V2 document, we can actually look at that individual document. And this is a direct pull of all of that content at that time when it was created. Now, what you're able to do with this is you can actually look at that individual document to see how that's changed over time, which is really important. Or you can go into those step revision history and then take back the individual component parts of how that has changed and how that has grown. Now, you may be asking what makes it V1, V2, V1.1, whatever that may be. Now, this is all automatic within your Waybook. As you're making changes, as you know, everything is auto-saved. But if I go to publish those changes and I say that no, it's only a small change, so I'm not sending that notification to other people, but telling them to update it, that will just make it 0.1 or 0.2 or whatever that may be. So if I now go and look at this, you'll see this is version 8.1. But if for whatever reason I make a major change to that document, now again, I can add different steps, I can add different content, I can put different tests in. And when I hit that publish button, I'm saying, yes, I want to reset all of the progress, I'll notify everyone. That is now a new version of that document rather than an iteration of that document. And you'll notice that we're now on V9 of that individual document. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's working, it's looking fantastic, and I know a few of you are already getting a heap of value from that as well. So please do let us know if you wanted to test that feature out, if it's not on your account, and we'd love to hear how you think about it and how we can continue to improve it. And then finally, the last thing I'm excited to show you today is how you can export reports. Now, the reporting side of Waybook continues to improve, as we know that the essential ability for you to track, for you to manage, for you to understand exactly who in your team knows what information they have access to and what they understand. We also know that some of you want to grab that data out and do a slightly deeper and more custom analysis on that information. Now, what you're able to do is to export any of your reports as a CSV value, and this is already available actually in beta. So again, by request, if you want it, let us know, we'll put it on. And also it is available in pro accounts as well. So please do let us know if you needed access to that. Let me just show you a little bit of what that looks like. So of course, you may be familiar already with reporting. Reporting gives you all of the access to recent activity on your audit log, the average progress, what people are searching, where people are in terms of individual members, or you can of course build out really custom reports. So if I want to look specifically at one of the documents, so just this purpose and background document, and break that down by members, we can see who has and hasn't seen it. If, for example, we want to look at that entire subject, we can break that down and see where people are in the subject. Or, of course, you can look at an individual member to see what they've done on the subjects, the documents, or the tests. Now, you'll notice that this is the same as it has been for a few months now, but as well as seeing, adding, editing, amending, filtering this content, you can actually now export that as CSV, and you'll see instantly that will be downloaded onto your desktop for you to then do what you wish from a data analytics perspective. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is your reports. And just taking that back to the last part of today's session, it's just a reminder that we are always building. And in order for us to continue building, we love to continue hearing from you in terms of what you would need in order to get more value out of Waybook, how we can help you get your business on the same page and enjoy that really clear and consistent thinking for you and across your whole team. What's coming up in the next month is some additional artificial intelligence, some additional AI features to make it much easier for you to centralize, to summarize, and to create your content. We're also then looking at the revision tracking. So yes, you can compare different versions of documents, but we're going to be becoming more specific and really highlighting those core changes that have been made across those individual documents. We're also working on a feature that will enable you to archive users, which essentially is for many of you who have temporary staff or staff coming in and out, you don't want to delete all of their progress, all of their logins, but you don't want them to have a seat on your Waybook. You can simply archive and unarchive, and of course, so much more. So this brings me very much to the end of today's session. Once again, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me. I am scanning the chat and also the Q&A. So if you do have any other thoughts, any questions, any comments, now is the time as I'm looking on that. But apart from that, I know Ella's been tapping away a little bit to some of you. So it looks like we may be done. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everything that you do. We're so privileged and so excited to be continuing to work with you to help you get your business on the same page. Thank you so much for your time. I will stay on to answer a last question that's just come in, but for everyone else, have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you at the next session here in 1 month's time to see how Waybook has changed in July. Have a great one. Thank you so much.